starts fading, darkness turns to dust. Everyone's gone, but no one's leaving, nobody left but us. Trying to chase a feeling, but we'll never feel it. Riding on our last train home. Dying in our sleep, we're living out a dream. We only make it out alone. I just keep on hoping that you call me. You say you wanna see me, but you can't right now. You never took the time to get to know me. We're scared of losing something that we never found. We're running out of reasons, but we can't let go. Yeah, Hollywood is bleeding, but we call it home. Outside, the winter sky turning gray. City up in smoke, it's only ice when it rains. I'll let the morning go to sleep in the day. But for everybody till the drugs fade away. In the morning, blocking out the sun with the shades. She gotta check her pulse to tell herself that she okay. It seems like dying young is an honor, but who'll be at my funeral? I wonder. I go out and all they eyes on me. I show out, do you like what you see? And now they closing in on me. Let them sharpen up their teeth. This is more than I can handle. Blood in my level. Wish I could go up. I'm losing all. I light a candle. Some Palo Santos for all these demons. Wish I could just go on. I just keep on hoping that you call me. You say you wanna see me, but you can't right now. You never took the time to get to know me. We're scared of losing something that we never found. We're running out of reasons, but we can't let go. Yeah, Hollywood is bleeding, but we call it home. Groovin on a Sunday afternoon. Really couldn't get away too soon. I can't imagine anything that's better. The world is ours whenever we're together. There ain't a place I like to be instead of moving down a crowded avenue. Do it, anything we like to do. It's always
Yeah, man. All right, I'm excited. Big show today. Very excited.
Grooving on a Wednesday afternoon, right?
Welcome to a Wednesday. Are you relaxed? We had Monday off. It was nice.
I did enjoy having the day off. I love doing the show. I'm not going to lie. I do love doing the show, but I loved even more not having to do the show for 1 week.
Yeah, it was. I mean, not that it's hard work, but everything else that we do, it was nice to have a full day to kind of chill out and do nothing.
Yeah, it was. It was definitely great for me to just kind of kick back. And I only had to do the one show, which was fine, but so I did the one and then done. And after today, I don't have a CMS on Saturday. This is like a week off.
Wow,
for me.
look at this. Natalie, good afternoon, Seth and Chris, and everyone else. Hope everyone had a great weekend. I had a great weekend. I really enjoyed meeting Seth and Heather, Sandy and Jim. It was a great time. Thanks, Sandy. Yes, I got to meet the lovely Natalie over the weekend.
Very nice.
Went out to breakfast at Goldie's in Strongsville, our normal hangout, 10 o'clock on Sunday mornings. And Natalie and Scott were there along with a couple of their family members. And they were all very nice, very sweet people. It was very enjoyable. I felt bad, though, because I had to rush out to pick up my daughter to take her to work. But it was cool meeting everybody.
That's cool. Very cool, man. Look at you. Meeting all the peeps.
See? Michael, what's going on, Mike? Watson said he hopes to bring a happy ending to the season. Yes.
Hope he does too.
Right on the 50-yard line.
That's
that would
right.
be great. That should be the halftime show.
Right on Elfie's face.
That should be all right. Clean. Remember, we're supposed to be clean. We can't say
You
that.
can say that. What couldn't I say there? Right
Talk about
on
jerking
Elfie's
off on the elf's face.
Well, I didn't say that. You did.
Wow.
I said he was going to bring a happy ending to the elf's face on the 50. That could mean anything.
That could mean anything. Yeah, I apologize.
Could mean a first down.
That would be a hell of a halftime show for the Super Bowl, though. Like, if the Browns make the Super Bowl, the halftime show should be, like, massages on the main stage.
Dude, if they were smart, they would have, like, a Lowe's that they were selling that was full of, like, massage chairs and masseuses and everything else. You know, all of them have the number 4 on them, stitched on them, the massage chairs.
Yeah. Seeing that little hype video at the beginning, I hate the political aspect that football got into with all kneeling and a bunch of bullshit of these stupid players getting on a knee and ignoring the flag and the anthem. And so I hate that.
Yeah.
But I love football.
Me too.
And I love the game of football. I love watching it. I love not that, look, baseball has its own little thing that I enjoy. The strategy and everything is kind of fun. If you're a baseball fan, you really know baseball. But I really enjoy just watching football.
Yeah, me too.
And, they ruined it for me a little bit with all the crap with the kneeling. But seeing that video makes me happy. I just wish that all those highlights of the Browns ended in a win because most of them didn't.
Yeah, I know. That's the sad part. It's like, here's a bunch of highlights from our 7-10 season.
So I'm excited to see what happens this year. I think this team has a shot.
I'm not counting on anything, and we'll get into this more when we get into the football segment. But, dude, I don't know if you're the same as me with this. We've been burned so many times that I know the team's great. I've watched every national pundit say that this team's going to be a playoff team. I read something today that said it's impossible for them not to make the playoffs. I'm like, sir, you don't live in Cleveland. They could be playing all high school teams and not make the playoffs because it's Cleveland.
Right. Joe Montana could be the quarterback, and we're going to not make the playoffs. I mean, that's the way it happens here.
We could have every greatest player of all time. We could have Jim Brown in his prime. We could have Randy Moss. We could have, I don't know who on the other side, somebody equally as good. We could have Dan Marino. We could have the entire Bears 85 defense and still lose 11 games because it's Cleveland.
I played catch with Dan Marino.
Wow, really?
Yeah, my dad was the sports editor for the Miami News. And we went to a camp, training camp, Dolphins training camp.
Okay.
And I got to meet a couple of the players. Remember Mark Duper, Super Duper?
Yeah, Mark Duper. Yeah, Duper and Clayton.
Yeah, I got like wristbands and
nice
guys. And then, my dad was talking to Marino, and Marino just passed me the ball back and forth a couple of times in a parking lot. And Dolphins.
Now, was he throwing it or was he just kind of lobbing it?
Well, I mean, it wasn't like darting the ball at my face or anything like that.
Well, no, but I mean, he was throwing it like a regular, not just.
Yeah, it was like 8, dude. So you get him.
Oh, okay. I'm thinking you're a little older.
No. Sorry. So they were probably lobs, yeah. But yeah, it was still a highlight of my life that I would never, forget. Yeah.
There's still only about 100 of you that can say that you caught a pass from Dan Marino.
Yeah. I mean, Bernie was another guy that I grew up with because I lived in Miami.
Right.
And Bernie Kosar was the freaking quarterback of the Hurricanes.
Right.
And we went to a couple of Hurricanes games, but I was at the Doug Flutie Hail Mary game.
Oh, no kidding. Wow.
Against the Hurricanes. And Kosar was the quarterback, I think. Yeah, he had to be. And when we moved up here is when Bernie ended up getting drafted up here.
Nice.
And so I pretty much was with Bernie throughout his entire career.
Right. Then you used to run the bars too, so I'm sure you saw Bernie out there.
Yeah. I like Bernie a lot. Something weird happened to that guy though. Again, got political. He endorsed some Democrat for some reason, and then he I called him after when I started doing this podcast.
Mm-hmm.
Back in the early days of the whatever Mike wanted to call it days, and
The mine shaft or whatever.
Whatever.
No, mine field, not the mine shaft.
Which was trademarked by like 1,900 other people. And I tried to get Bernie on. I didn't want anything out of Bernie.
Yeah,
just wanted him to come on the show for 10 minutes. And he like got real weird. Like I think he thought I was asking for money or something because I was telling him about what happened to me with the leg, losing the leg, and all that kind of stuff. And I think he thought I was calling him to ask for like cash or something. I was just calling to see if we could spend 10 minutes to come on the podcast.
Yeah.
And nothing. So and then I haven't heard back from him since. So it is what it is.
You know the deal, dude. Once you lose that job, you might as well just jump out of their Rolodex.
I mean, I'll say whatever now because I don't really care. But that guy asked me, he wanted to date my sister-in-law.
Nice.
And like, I mean, it was like weird, but I'm okay to talk to you then, but apparently not now.
Yeah. When you're trying to get him laid, then it's something, but
yeah. Who cares? Browns will win 6 or less. I agree.
I don't know about that. You agree?
Yeah.
6 or less?
Maybe 5 tops.
You think they're going 5-12?
Look, how am I going to get excited about a team that has yet to prove anything to me? Last year, Watson couldn't. If you and I were standing together, glued together, he couldn't hit us.
Right.
And, we're not exactly the smallest of men. And if we were glued side by side, Watson couldn't have hit us.
It's going to be interesting to see. He did not look that good in the preseason, to me. I watched, which is rare for me. I never watch preseason. I always find preseason to be ridiculous. But
he didn't play a whole lot.
He didn't play a lot, but when he did play, he looked okay. Didn't look unbelievable. Didn't look like a superstar. Just looked okay, which kind of made me think, we'll see. So, I guess we will see. That's really what it comes down to.
Kevin, how we doing, gang, other than the world being on fire? Yeah, that is a problem. But today we're kind of, at least for the first half of the show, if not the majority of the show, we're going to try to enjoy a little bit of stuff. We have some Browns talk. We got a new segment today that we're debuting.
Yes.
And so we got like a Browns update, if you will.
That's right.
And so we're going to do that in a minute or so. And then we have from the Rascals.
Yeah. Felix Cavaliere.
Is that how you say it?
I'm thinking that's how you say it. That's how I'm going to say it.
Well, you're introing him because
I'll intro him. That's fine. That's fine. But he's the main guy. He's the singer. He's the keyboard player. We
My
played
sister-in-law sent me a picture of her at a Rascals concert.
Okay.
And it was very cool. And she wants me to ask him a question, so I'm going to ask him.
Okay. Awesome.
Something that she wanted to ask. And then after that, we got Tony Masaccio. He's going to be down in the flats, I believe.
All right.
Assuming that there's not a rainstorm that floods him out of there and he wrecks another car.
Right. Exactly. That's funny.
Is Tony doing the Browns update? No. It's a friend of yours, correct?
Yes. Yeah, John Drake, who's he's a 20-year season ticket holder in the dog pound.
Yeah.
So I just figured who's better, and I mean he's a homer's homer.
And he says that.
Oh yeah, if you ask him, he'll tell you that they're going 16-1,
and
the one will be because the refs screwed us.
I want you to do me a favor.
Yeah.
Look up a picture of Bloom Daddy.
All right. Let me see here.
Not that I want to look at Bloom Daddy, but
Daddy.
When I saw this John Drake, when I was watching the beginning of the video, to me he looked like Bloom Daddy.
Yeah, he does sort of. Bloom Daddy looks sort of like a combination of John and Ricky Gervais.
I see that. Yeah, I definitely see that.
An image in new tab. Let me pull this down here. Such a pain in the ass with the StreamYard to put a picture up. Why couldn't they just make it that you could just pop it in there? That would be.
That's what she said.
Yeah. Hey, clean show. There he is.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, he does sort of look like him.
But I think that this John Drake kind of looks like him also.
He does, kind of, yeah.
So,
hopefully he's not as stupid as him.
Wow. Look, I got nothing bad to say about that guy. It's people he works with that I have a problem with.
I'll say it. He sucks, and so does his show. Okay, what's he gonna do? Be mad at me?
And then after we do this Brown segment, I want to run down. I did my fantasy draft yesterday.
Okay.
Now, I was out in the car doing the draft from my phone.
Okay.
And I suck at drafting. Like every year, like the first year I did this draft, and I do it with a lot of guys that work at TIM, and then I work a couple of guys that are just no longer with the station, but we all still do, the fantasy football thing.
Right.
And a couple of guys I don't know, and I think that they're not very talented, but I don't really know them all that well, but they're okay.
Okay.
But I don't know shit. I mean, stuff about drafting in the fantasy world. It's just not my deal. And so I want your opinion to see. I mean, do you know NFL football?
Oh yeah.
So you'll know the players when I say this is who they are.
Dude, I make a couple $1,000s a year every year off FanDuel. I know the players.
All right. Well, I'm going to run down my fantasy team with you after we do our Browns update in just a minute.
Okay.
But the first time I did it, I picked literally 4 Chiefs players, man. I had half of the Chiefs offense as my starting lineup. And it didn't turn out that bad for me because the Chiefs had a good year.
Sure.
When they had off, I was screwed. But
right. And if they have an off game, if they have the 13-10 game, you're really hosed.
Right. I was hosed. Or on a bye week, I was screwed. So there were a couple of times where I was just dead in the water.
Right.
Because the rest of my players I've never even heard of. I just pick people. And that's the way it got last night. Every time I recognize the name, next thing you know, gone. And I'm sitting there like a dumbass going, I still got 6 picks. What am I going to pick now? And I'm just picking the best of the losers.
So meanwhile, you're at you like the number 4 guy for the Rams or something,
right.
Wide receiver.
No idea who these people are. And I'm looking at my lineup. I think I might know who. No, I don't really know a lot of these people.
Oh, we'll go through it. We'll see. See if I know.
So
maybe I
don't. We'll do that after the Browns update. So this is our new segment. I don't know if it's going to be as long every week.
It won't be. This is kind of because he was introing the segment, and I gave him 0 direction. So
all right. So this is a little bit long, but it's good. And so it's our Brown segment.
What are we calling it? Dog Pound Details?
Yeah. He does kind of look like Chuck Booms. You're right. You're right. A little bit. I miss that guy. I like that guy. He was crazy, but he was good. All right. Brown segment. Here we go. All right. John Drake, right?
Yep.
All right, here we go.
What's up, everyone? John Drake.
He looks like Bloom Daddy, dude. He does. I'm sorry. It freaks me out. When I saw it, I was like, what are we having Bloom Daddy on the show for?
Well, I'll start having him intro himself as Bloom Daddy just to really screw it up.
There we go.
What's up, everyone? John Drake here, homer for all things Cleveland, Browns apologist, and season ticket holder in the lower dog pound, here to talk some Cleveland Browns with you right here on the Seth Williams Show. A few more days left, and then we are officially underway for the 2023 season as the Browns welcome the Cincinnati Bengals to First Energy Stadium this coming Sunday at 1 p.m. I'm having a hard time remembering a more anticipated season than this one. I mean, obviously, as Browns fans, we always get pumped up for the start of a new season. Hope springs eternal, all those good little phrases and whatnot. But, this one's a little bit different, I think. You've got Deshaun Watson. He had a full off season. Obviously, we know of all of his legal troubles and all that kind of crap that he went through last year and all that whole saga. We don't need to rehash that crap. But, yeah, he's fully a member of the team now. The offense is his. He used the phrase that they gave me the keys to run it. And, as a result, I know I haven't been looking this forward to a season, and man, since I was a kid, and I've been following the Browns since 1985. So, it's pretty cool, man. This is obviously the most talented quarterback the Browns may have ever had. Not to be historic about it, but you can go back to Otto Graham to kind of think about the last time you had a quarterback that could be this dominant. Bernie Kosar's up there, of course. We hoped Baker Mayfield would be it, but we all know how that ended. That being said, this is a very interesting season because I know that for me personally, and I'm sure a lot of other fans are like this, I really think it's put up or shut up time. I'm personally sick and tired of hearing, well, we're building towards something, or making excuses at the end of a season or even during a season. It's, we keep hearing about all the talent that's on this roster, so it's time to shit or get off the pot. Win some games, go to the playoffs, and don't just win a game. Like let's get back to the AFC title game. Let's push for a Super Bowl berth. And you continue to hear about how stacked the AFC is, how difficult the AFC North is, and in both of those statements are correct. Obviously, we know that. But you know what? With the talent that we've got lined up on, at least on paper, you know how things work here in Cleveland, with the talent that we have lined up on paper, I'm sorry, but we should be competing with those upper echelon teams, I think. Maybe it's pie in the sky thinking, but a lot of national, pundits are saying the same thing, that on paper, this is the most talented Browns team they may have ever seen. So it's time for it to all coalesce and come together into a deep playoff run. So, I know that for me, I don't really have a season prediction for the record. I do have an expectation. And I know that I'm not going to be happy with anything less than 11 wins. And I know that that's difficult with this schedule because you don't really have a lot of quote-unquote gimme games. You do have the Houston Texans. You've got the Rams on the schedule. You've got the NFC West with the exception of the Niners because obviously they're a juggernaut almost with that defense. By the way, is everybody else not as sold on Brock Purdy as I am? I just don't get it. He's definitely a product of Kyle Shanahan. But anyway, there's not a lot of softball games on this schedule. And, despite the fact that the season opens up kind of in the opposite fashion last year's did, last year we looked at the first 4 games and said, oh my God, we're going to be 4-0. Well, you look at this schedule, and when you've got your 3 AFC North opponents and the Tennessee Titans in the first 4 weeks, that's pretty much the opposite of what it was last year. So it's definitely a very difficult opening to the season. But I also think that can set the Browns up well, because if you can win 3 of those games, coming out of that at 3-1, especially, fingers crossed if those 3 are against the division opponents, which is a tall task, but if you can come out of that stretch 3-1 and you're 3-0 in the division, or 3-1 and you're 2-1 in the division, whatever, that's a damn good start to the season, and I think it builds a lot of confidence going into that bye week. That said, I am fully convinced that the one thing that can hold this team back this year, something that I personally think that has been a problem for the last couple of seasons, and it's Kevin Stefanski's arrogance. He's known as, the one thing you can say about him, he does get the best out of his quarterbacks. You can't deny that. He had Case Keenum in Minnesota, who had a career year. Jacoby Brissett last year, a journeyman backup, he had him, as a top 10 quarterback with a top 10 offense. That's crazy. So, he got the best out of Baker Mayfield for a while until Baker Mayfield stopped playing by the rules. But the one thing that he does is he just always has to be that smartest guy in the room. There was a couple years ago we were playing against the Patriots in Foxborough, and the Patriots had a great pass defense and a crappy run defense, and it was pouring rain. And this nitwit comes out throwing the ball all over the yard. Like, what the hell are you doing? Like, they can't defend the run, and it's raining. Run the goddamn football. And then they had one last year. It might have even been the last 2 years, but if I remember right, it was the Chargers who were terrible against the run. And he comes out throwing the ball. Like, why? And then you have what happened to us in the Atlanta game, where Atlanta realized, hey, the Browns can't stop the run. So they had an 11-play touchdown drive where they never threw the ball once. Their coaches went, well, can't stop it. That's all we're going to do. And Kevin Stefanski never does that. He never just looks at a team's weakness and says, we're just going to pound you there. He's always got to be cerebral and figure something out. Well, this year, he needs to stop that shit. Enough is enough. Use your talent in an intelligent fashion and stop trying to outthink everybody. I really think that that's the one thing that can hold us back. Obviously, Deshaun Watson not reverting to his, 2020, 2019 Houston Texans form is also the major thing. That one goes without saying, I think. But yeah, I really think that this year for me, I'm not going to be happy with anything less than 11 wins. I get it. It's a much more difficult schedule. But again, on paper, everyone says there's this much more talent. So let's go out and let's win these goddamn games. Enough is enough. I'm sick of wait for next year. I'm sick of watching other teams that are crappier than us take that 1-year leap and just all of a sudden go from worst to first. I'm sick and tired of watching it not happen here in Cleveland. So, I'm not going to be happy with anything less than 11 wins. And I really think it's going to come down to Kevin Stefanski really using this talent intelligently and not trying to outthink everybody and, oh, look, I'm the smartest guy in the room. Because generally when you think you're the smartest guy in the room, you're usually the dumbest. So I am really excited. I am so unbelievably pumped up for the season and hoping we get off to a great start here this Sunday against the Bengals, which I think we will. Everyone's pumped up. We play well against Cincinnati. Joe Burrow is on a little bit of a bum ankle. They haven't said how bad it is. So it's setting up to, could be a pretty good opener. So, yep, John Drake here. Thanks for tuning in to the Seth Williams Show. And, guys, here we go, Brownies. Here we go. Hoo, hoo!
Thank you, Bloom Daddy. I mean, John Drake.
Yeah, he is the Homer's Homer. He definitely is.
Yeah, of course he is. Picking 11 wins.
11 wins is a little much, but
Yeah, come on.
I'm with him. I hope he's right. I hope we are 11-6 or whatever that'll equal out to. I hope we are. I'm looking at the schedule right now, and I'm like, I don't know about this Bengals week 1. That sounds a little wrong.
Well, if Burrow's not playing, then we have a shot.
Burrow-
But then again, Burrow really hasn't played all that great against the Browns to begin with.
Yeah. Steelers, we should win.
Come on. We never beat the Steelers.
We should win.
We should.
But
We
it's Monday
should
night-
has been
but
the
it's Monday night in Pittsburgh.
yeah. We should has been the word or the words of the Browns for the past 20 years.
Oh, well, let's just play this out. We'll play a Seth versus me. Come see what we come up. You keep track of how many wins you see, and I'll keep track of how many wins I see. And we'll figure it out at the end.
All right.
Bengals Browns.
Hang on. Bengals Browns.
Yep.
That's going to be a loss.
I'm saying loss as well.
Right. I'm keeping track of mine. Are you keeping track
Okay,
of
now
yours?
keep track of mine. Yeah.
All right.
Browns Steelers.
Oh, loss.
I'm going against the grain. Going win. Titans Browns.
Titans are going to have a good year this year. Loss.
I'm going win. Ravens Browns.
Oh, come on.
At Cleveland. At Cleveland.
At Cleveland?
Yep.
Still. Loss.
I don't disagree. 49ers at Browns.
49ers at Browns. Their defense is too good. Loss.
I'm kind of tossed on that. I'm going to stay with loss. I mean, 49ers are good. Colts Browns.
All right, we get a win there. We get a win.
I'm with you on that. Seahawks Browns.
Where at?
In Seattle.
Oh, loss.
I'm going win. Cardinals Browns.
Arizona in Arizona?
In Cleveland.
Oh, win.
I say win as well. Now Browns at Ravens.
Browns at loss.
I'm going to say win because I gave them a loss earlier.
All right.
Steelers at Browns.
All right, I'm going to give them a win just for fluke. All right.
I'm going to stay with loss. Browns Broncos.
Where?
At Denver.
Loss.
I'm going to say win. Browns Rams in LA.
Loss. No, Rams aren't very good. I'll give them a win. Fluke win on the road.
I will give them a win as well.
Right.
Here's probably the hardest game of the entire season in my eyes. Jaguars Browns in Cleveland.
What's the date on the game?
December 10th.
So it could be shitty outside.
Could be.
I'm going to go with a win on that one.
That's a real toss. I'm going to go win just because I like the Browns. So win there. Bears Browns in Cleveland.
Justin Fields throws for 800 yards. We lose.
I'm taking the win on that one. Browns Texans.
I'm going to go with a win, I guess. I just,
I'm going for a win too. They have nothing. CJ Stroud is not the answer.
You don't know that yet.
He's not the answer. Stop it.
He could be better than Deshaun Watson.
He could.
How's
also
that guy
be,
done?
He could also be Cardell Jones.
Yeah, could
He's
be.
not the answer.
All right.
Same system as Cardell Jones, and he turned out to be a real jewel. Pass on him. He stinks. Win for the Browns.
Better than what Ohio State has now.
Yeah, that guy was good. He won.
Dude, they're going to drop 10 spots in the polls because that guy can't throw the ball.
All right, here's a definite loss in my head. Jets Browns, even it's in Cleveland.
Yeah, loss.
That is, I agree with you. That is a loss. And last but not least, Browns Bengals in Cincy.
Loss.
All right, what do you got?
I have, well, it's a lot easier to count my wins. 1, 2, 3, 4, 6 wins.
I have 11.
Wow, you agree with John Drake.
I do, which I didn't do on purpose.
6.
I have 11.
I'm telling you, I just don't think they're very good. I don't think they're good.
I
hope I'm wrong, but every single year, oh yeah, we're loaded. Look at all these players we got on paper. They look fantastic. And then every year they suck. Amari Cooper is the best receiver since Jerry Rice until he joins the Browns. Deshaun Watson is a Hall of Fame quarterback until he gets massaged and joins the Browns.
Right, exactly.
Everybody sucks. Nick Chubb is great, except when
they don't use him.
They don't use him. We should. We had 2 of the best running backs in the league. We don't use them the right way, and it's pointless.
Yeah. And Denzel Ward got a concussion again from putting his headphones on or something. You know, that dude is the most glass Joe since RG3.
We can't get a secondary. We've never had a good secondary. What was that other thing? Joe Hayden gets a splinter in his toe and is out for 8 weeks.
Yeah. Last good one we had, what? Minifield and Dixon?
Dixon, yeah. Well, that's because the game was different back then.
Yeah.
Back then, if you got hurt, you stayed in the game. Freaking Bernie Kosar, for all the crap that I talk about that guy now, broke his ankle and stayed out there and drew plays in the dirt to win football games. Mm-hmm. These guys, they get a hangnail and they go, I got to sit on the bike on the side. For how long are you going to be out? 3 weeks. What?
Yeah, 3 weeks. Yeah.
I just saw a clip of Hugh Jackson back in the day when he was the supposed coach of the Browns. And he was talking about, hey, this is my team. I'm going to run this team the way that I want to run it. When they were on Hard Knocks. And he's talking about, they were saying, the coaches are saying, we need to get these guys playing and practicing. Well, these guys are hurt. I don't want them to be hurt all season long, so I'm going to stick them on the bikes. And when it's your team, you can run it like it's your team. This is my team. Look, you dick. You didn't win anything.
Right. Dude, I'm with you. I picked 11, which I just did totally at random. It's the first time I've run through it even. But, man, a lot of it I think is hope. Dude, it could. The worst part about this with the Browns, and I'm not even kidding here. I mean, people are probably going to think I am. The same team that I just picked 11 wins for could absolutely be 3-14.
Oh, without a doubt.
It could absolutely happen. Lose a couple of these games that are surefire wins, like the Cardinals and the Colts, and you can see the player morale go to shit, and they just don't win anything. And that's right up in the first half of the season, so it could just tank the whole. That's really the biggest scare I have, is that the beginning of the season is really kind of tough. Bengals, Steelers, Titans, Ravens, 49ers, first 5 games.
Okay.
They could be 0-5.
Yes.
And if they're 0-5, they're probably done because their mentality would be toast.
Ronnie Lott had a finger removed at halftime. Remember that? Played in the second half. I mean, football was football.
They were men back then.
Might as well just put flags on these guys.
Yeah, they were
men.
men.
We only got like 8 minutes or so before our guest joins us from the Rascals. So I'm going to run down my fantasy team for you.
Okay.
I'll run down my starters real quick.
Okay.
I'll go down. I'll give my flex player.
Okay.
Is Deontay Johnson from the Steelers. Wide receiver.
Yeah,
I don't know about him.
I know who he is. He's not
tight end. Greg Kittle, 49ers.
That's a good player.
He's questionable though. He's injured.
He's always hurt, but when he's on the field, he's good for 15 catches.
I don't even know how to pronounce some of these guys' names. Damian Pierce, running back, Houston.
He was really good last year.
Travis Etienne.
Oh, ETN from the Texans, right? Is he on the
Jacksonville.
Texans? Jacksonville? Yeah. One of
He
them
played for
teams.
Clemson.
Yeah, he's pretty good.
I don't know this guy. Brandon Ayuk, wide receiver, San Francisco.
I don't know him. I honestly don't know that name.
Chris Olave. See, I liked him.
Yeah, he's good.
For New Orleans, wide receiver.
I just looked up
From Ohio
Ayuk
State.
real quick.
The Ohio State, yes.
Ayuk last year had 78 catches and 8 touchdowns. Probably not a bad player.
I mean, he's a 4-star pick.
Yeah, he's probably pretty
Now,
decent.
my starting quarterback is Patrick Mahomes.
What
So I got a good player there.
was that? Did you have number 1 pick in the draft?
Number 2 pick.
Who went ahead of Patrick Mahomes?
I can't remember who the guy picked ahead of me. He wasn't a quarterback. He picked a wide receiver or somebody.
Justin Jefferson?
Maybe.
Probably.
On my bench, I have, again, I got to tap on these players. Jake Ferguson, tight end for the Cowboys.
Yeah, he's pretty decent.
Wide receiver Rashad Bateman from the Ravens.
That's a hard one to pick because God knows who's going to play with the Ravens.
I don't know who the hell this guy is, but I picked him anyways. Samaji Perine from the Broncos, running back. No idea.
Broncos. Well, hold on, Broncos, real quick. Broncos are a tough one to pick because God knows what their offense is going to do. So, could definitely be a tough one there. But
My second quarterback,
yeah,
I have Deshaun Watson.
that's still a safe pick.
And people said, why? Because you hate women? No, because I love women, massage women. And then for my kicker, I have Justin Tucker from the Ravens. He's the best kicker.
He's the best kicker in
league.
football. Dude, you're going to do well in your pick.
And on my defense, I have the Steelers and I have the Bills defense.
You're going to do fine. You're going to win 12 games in your league. That's fine.
So we'll see. We'll see how it goes. We do have our guest. I want to play a quick spot here, and then we'll get to our guest.
All right. Sounds great.
Sound good?
Sounds great to me.
All right. We'll be right back.
All right.
There's no place like home, and whether it's furniture, artwork, home accessories, appliances, or that one-of-a-kind collectible, Yellow Brick Road Online Auctions allows you to find everything you need from the comfort of your own home. The owner of Yellow Brick Road Auctions has been conducting online estate auctions for over 8 years by providing homeowners with a stress-free process to liquidate all items that have accumulated over the years.
I'm Melissa Mendici, owner of Yellow Brick Road Auctions. Log on today to find your heart's desire.
Young Rascals.
And let's welcome our guest to the show.
Felix Cavaliere, how are you, man?
Hey, man, can you see me all right?
See and hear you perfectly, man.
Okay.
Great to have you.
Excellent. Thank you, man.
Well, dude, as I will start this off because I am a huge fan. I grew up, I'm 54 years old. Your music was in my mom's record player all the time. So I literally grew up on your stuff.
There you go.
Well, man, a lot to unpack here. I figured what we would do is maybe start with the new and then we'll work backwards a little bit. But for everybody that doesn't know, Felix has a brand new release getting ready to hit called Then and Now. It's a great record, has a new single, which we will play at the end of this, called Soul Love. So why don't we start there, man? Tell us about, what you're doing and how you're keeping on and how you're keeping your career going.
Well, during the COVID, we were kind of locked up. Everybody was locked up, so we decided, man, let's do an album,
Right.
And through the magic of computers, as you guys know well, what we're doing right now,
Right.
we were able to do it. We had started. We had an idea. We had a premise. We said, look, why don't we take 5 songs that really influenced me and re-record them, and then write 5 new songs that kind of, to a degree, show the influence, from those people like Ray Charles, like Benny King, like people that I really, really admire. And that's how it started. Then the COVID hit, and then we said, okay, well, we can do it in the homes,
Right.
which is not as much fun as doing it in the studios.
Sure.
But hey, virtual everything, right? So
Right.
that's how it started. That's how it came about.
Very now. How did you go about choosing the songs? I mean, I have to imagine most people my age would be choosing your songs. So how
that's
do you?
cool, but-
So how would you choose your songs?
That's almost impossible, man, because like there's so many songs that you love, really, really love. I mean, like most of us in my generation, you guys are a little older, but we didn't have the access to Spotify and Apple Music and
Sure.
all that. We had to really search, and I mean that for not only radio stations, but places where you can physically buy the product. And I mean, it was totally different from now. You can hear anything all over the world. So those records, those songs, they really mean a lot to us. I'm sure if you asked Beatle guys and Stone guys, they'll tell you the same thing. They really meant a lot because they were hard to get. So yeah, how do you pick the songs? I don't know, man. We just we collaborated. I collaborated with my guitar player who's a co-producer, and we just came up with 5, and we have so many more.
Sure. Go ahead, Seth.
You brought up COVID, so I'm going to ask you about it because things are starting to have an uptick once again when it comes to
Oh,
COVID.
yes.
Are you worried about that kind of thing? Is that going to affect you again if this kind of stuff keeps happening? I mean, what's the plan? Or do we just say enough is enough? We're going to keep going and keep moving forward.
And what are you going to do, man? Like I say, I mean, I was fine until I went out of the house.
Yeah.
I was doing great, man. I was well cooped up and everything was fine. Of course, there was no work. We have to realize a lot of people, especially, a lot of people don't realize the people who help out with, like the crews and the sound people, they really suffered, man, because there was nothing. There was no work. So I'm hoping it doesn't get back to that level. But, you just do what you can. I mean, I'm a guy that if, I come from a medical family.
Okay.
So when the doctor tells me to get a shot, I get a shot because the doctor was my parents,
Right.
So I feel like I'm immune. I had it. I got it en route to shows in Hawaii, man. And
Wow.
it just knocked me cold. I couldn't go. They wouldn't let me out of my room. So I don't know. We'll see what happens.
Right on, man. Well, Felix, let's go back a little bit. We, as you just saw when we were getting started, we played one of the most iconic clips from your band when you appeared on Ed Sullivan, and I'm somewhat of a music historian, but I did not live through that period. I've heard about it.
Right.
I don't think people, though, my age or younger, can really understand how big Ed Sullivan was. It's like, am I wrong in thinking that an appearance on the Ed Sullivan Show was like an appearance now at the Super Bowl? It was like the biggest thing you could do, right?
Yeah, I mean, I mean, obviously the Super Bowl is humongous,
Sure.
But that's right. I mean, if you look back at like, for example, Elvis Presley, Beatles, all of us, and believe me, remember the first time they were on TV. And for most of us, you're absolutely right. The Ed Sullivan Show was where you saw them. And, it was kind of a different show. I don't know if people realize, I don't know if they're interested, but basically that was a different show from anything that has been out since. First of all, Ed Sullivan was a columnist.
Right.
He was a newspaper columnist. And in those days, newspaper columnists were very powerful because when they would write a review about somebody, basically it brought the public's attention to them, much like the media does today, the internet. Only, of course, it was just local papers or in some cases nationwide. So he was a big man. So what happened is the CBS network came up to him and offered him a time slot on prime time, which was 8 p.m. Eastern time.
Sure.
And unlike other shows, first of all, it was live. And I mean live. I mean, like, I'll explain to you if you guys are interested. What happened.
Sure, please do.
Well, I'll tell you, basically, he was given a flat fee to spend. So we got our normal pay. Everybody got paid. We didn't, it was before union, locked us into the certain amount we get today. So we got a concert fee. Okay. So what we did is we went in Monday morning at 7 a.m.
Okay.
Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and rehearsed.
Wow.
Saturday night, full show, audience, no television.
Okay.
Sunday night, the real thing. On the air, audience, he screwed it up every time. Well, you know why? Because, commercials are 30 seconds, 15 seconds, 90 seconds, 60 seconds. So everything is timed except him.
Right.
See? So basically, when he would go on, he would see somebody that he knew in the audience, and he would lose his train of thought, much like some of our leaders today, and he would just, oh, there goes 5 seconds, 10 seconds. Okay, now you got to make up that time. Right. Somebody has to make up that time.
Right.
Well, it was really exciting. I mean, it was so exciting that, my ex writing partner, Eddie there, he used to go home and wreck your house, wreck the apartment because you're so built up, man, from 7 days. And then you have 2 minutes, 2 minutes live. So it was fun, man. It was really fun, and he was a very interesting guy. I mean, he really was a different generation, totally different. He looked at us like we were alien beings that came on the stage,
Sure.
Yeah. What were the fans like during those times? Because it seemed like all you see is screaming girls everywhere. Is that what it was like all the time, or what?
Well, not all the time, but I mean, when you went home, it wasn't like that, But they were screaming for a different reason,
Yeah.
Yeah. No, it was exciting. I must tell you that when you're a young rascal, in our part, and you got three guys with you that are all striving for the same goal, man, it's really a lot of fun. I got to be honest with you. It was fun until, it became a little bit different. And, of course, those are historic events such as Altamont, when that happened, when it started to get a little heavy, when the drugs changed, et cetera, et cetera. But for the most part, let me tell you, man, that was a lot of fun.
Sure. What do you think it was about your music specifically that has withstood the test of time better than a lot of the bands that were your contemporaries at the time, the Herman's Hermits or Love and Spoonful or Paul Revere and the Raiders, bands like that? They don't seem to get as much classic rock or oldies love as you do. It seems like your songs, if I tune in here in Cleveland to the oldies station, absolutely. I will hear a Rascals song within 3 hours. That's a given. But I won't necessarily hear a lot of those bands that you came up with. What is it that you think is the reason that your music has withstood longer than those other bands?
Well, that's really difficult. First of all, you guys live in Cleveland, which is smart enough to have the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame there. So I got to give you guys credit because you know how that happened and all that stuff with the voting, right?
Right.
You're hip to that. Well, they were hip enough to do it. They did it. Look at that. Cleveland's a very, very musical town, as you guys know.
Sure.
And boy, if those Browns could only win, wow, would that be something?
Yeah.
But look, the only thing I can say to you is, look, I really, it's very difficult to answer a question like that, but I cannot stress the environment that Atlantic Records provided for us to make music. I mean, believe me, they were all about making great product. I mean, the people that were in that camp, the Arif Mardins, the Tom Dowds, the Ahmed Ertegans, Deshawi Ertegans, Jerry What? I mean, okay, obviously they were trying to make money. We all know that. But you know what, man? They really wanted to make great music. So they made it extremely easy to make great music. And I got to say, man, that really, really, I mean, we were in the same studio that Ray Charles was in, later Aretha Franklin. I mean, the Penguins. I mean, the Coasters, the Drifters. If you couldn't make music in that studio, you better go home.
Right. Definitely.
Well, that's one of the things that I wanted to ask, though, is that back then there was such a music scene, everything from Motown to, all that stuff. And there were bands all over the place that were so good. And now their music is so ridiculously horrible. And they're making millions of dollars. And it's sad that we can't have a revolution of rock music the way that it was meant to be. Today, it's terrible and they make millions. And you guys are still the face of what rock should be. Why did it change so much?
I'll tell you why. A friend of mine wrote a song. It's called "It's Not the Money, It's the Money."
Yeah, exactly true.
I can only give you my theories.
Sure.
I can't, but Woodstock, the major hippie event of the year of the decades,
Yeah.
that's what did it. Because what happened then, what is it? 500,000 people showed up.
Sure. Mm-hmm.
The powers that be, the good old corporations, the good old American business corporations said, I see a market out there.
Right.
Let's go get it. So they started saying, okay, God doesn't make the groups. We're going to make the groups. God doesn't make the hits. We make the hits. And it changed. It became a corporate world. Now, you guys, I'm sure you're involved with radio.
Yeah.
I don't have to say anything else. I mean, radio is corporate.
Yeah,
It's
absolutely.
a corporate world. Big time. So that in my opinion is but they'll never stop it because there's so many kids and people out there that are making music now. Somebody, of course, look, it's going to be difficult to get another Michael Jackson or a Prince or a Beatle, but they're out there somewhere, and they'll pop up. I have no doubt they'll pop up, and we're going to start all over again, man.
But do you think that there's the machine now to do that? Because, just like you were saying with Atlantic, if Atlantic believed in you, like they obviously did, they were going to push. It was like a poker player pushing all his chips in. They would push all their chips in. Now, if they're not playing with house money, they don't even want to play. It just doesn't seem like there's any. It doesn't seem like there's any foundation anymore. There's no MTV, or there's no Ed Sullivan, or there's no American Bandstand. There's nowhere to see this stuff unless you're actively looking for it. And I think that's one of the biggest problems of then versus now is that I hate to be this blunt about it, but there's no one spoon feeding it to the audience.
Well, now again, you get into like philosophical discussions here, which is fine with me, man. I'll tell you something, I believe, it's kind of like, a lottery. Mm-hmm. My dad used to say, well, somebody's got to win, man. I said, well, you're wasting your time. What are you buying that ticket for? Somebody's got to win. It's kind of like, you're drilling in the backyard and, oh, there's oil back there. A hit, a thing like you're talking about, I hate to say it's not man-made, man. Right. It's not made. It's made in heaven. It's made. It's coming, and believe me, it's going to come because everybody whoever recorded, they really believe that somebody's going to hear this, and it's going to hit. Otherwise, why bother? Because it's impossible. I mean, what are you going to do? You come to Nashville, you write songs. Right. Good luck. You know what I'm saying? I mean, there's like 10 zillion songwriters now. But, I mean, I could talk for hours on this. I had a neighbor. Yeah. I had a neighbor when I moved down here to Franklin, Tennessee. His name was Bob Carlisle. I don't know if that rings a bell. But he used to work with this Christian group called the, what the heck was it? The Aliens or something like that. And he was also one of the Ninja Turtles. Okay. Anyway, he wrote this album, and my kids used to play with his kids. The Allies, that was the group.
The Allies, okay.
So he said, you got to come over, Phil. I want you to hear this song. My wife loves it. She wants me to put it on the album. I don't want to put it on the album. It's too personal. I go over there. Now, I had 4 daughters. Mm-hmm. I heard this song, I started to cry because it was called, it was a song about when you butterfly kisses. Okay. I don't know if you ever heard that. Sold 5 million albums.
Right.
Then I had no idea, man. He had no idea. Every father that heard this knew what that meant. It meant, like they put their little eyebrows on you,
Right.
Eyelashes on you. That's what we live for, man. Some disc jockey heard it in Florida. It became like a national bestseller. That's what we live for.
Sure. Do you know, like when you come up with the idea, like when you came up with the idea for Groovin' or Lonely Too Long or any of that, do you know, damn, that's it. That's it. Or do you just kind of think, well, this is good and let's see what happens?
Well, basically, see, Atlantic had, like, for example, in the old days, they were in one floor of a building.
Okay.
And so basically the secretaries were right next to us. And then the hierarchy was a little further down. So when something was happening in the studio, they'd all come in.
Okay.
See? So they come in, they go like, wow, this is pretty cool. Because Atlantic it wasn't like as corporate as they are today where, they got these big signs up, do not enter, auto-tuning going on. Yeah.
Right.
Exactly. So it passed through the ranks of the record company.
Okay.
And then finally some of the big guys would come in and then you'd say, okay, you need people to tell you whether something's good, man, because if you don't think it's good, then nobody else is going to think it's good. So,
right. Right on.
How difficult
how
difficult is the streaming now for you? How difficult is it to move from selling records to now having to push Spotify and stuff like that? Because it's so different and it's so weird. And I did rock radio for over a decade, and I was playing CDs, but now it's all digital. It's all Spotify and Apple Music. And how difficult is it for artists?
Very difficult. It's very difficult. You don't want to discourage young people, but you say, like, you sure you want to do this? Right.
Right.
Because it's tough, man. It's a whole different world from like when you started and when we started. What are you going to do? That's the way it is. But like a lot of people, for better or for worse, they just got the bug, man, and there's just nothing you can say to them to stop them from trying.
Sure.
They want to do this, go for it, man. It's really difficult, but it's not impossible.
Sure. I've always argued, Felix, that the biggest problem with streaming itself is not so much the medium or whatever. I know one of the huge problems is you guys getting paid. I definitely know that part.
Right.
But the biggest problem I see from it is there's no connection anymore between me, the fan, and you, the band. And I'm sure you lived through this 100 times where people bought your record. They showed up at the concert with that record to get it signed, and they could probably tell you who was the engineer and the tape cutter and everything from reading the credits even more than you could, because we were so connected to the bands that we loved with the physical product. I honestly believe that the lack of physical product today makes music feel disposable instead of having that direct connection to the artists that we love. Do you think that's true?
Well, it's interesting that you say that because, we did this album, and then my manager said to me, well, man, we got to get vinyl. I said, what are you talking about? You got to get vinyl, man. The people want vinyl. I said, well, are you kidding? No. So it took us, without exaggeration, almost 2 years to get the vinyl pressed.
Wow.
Because the pressing plants are the same pressing plants they were 40 years ago. They're just getting hip to the fact we better get some new pressing plants. So they were backed up with Taylor Swift, with Beyonce, and they didn't have time for Felix Cavaliere records. So bottom line is, okay, so why do they want vinyl? It's not only because it sounds different. It's because I got a piece of something in my hand, man.
Mm-hmm.
It's not a digital thing that a 0 and 1 just flew through my room. Yeah, I really believe you're onto something with that. That's what they want. They want that piece of I own this.
Right. No, I agree. I'm curious, since we're talking about physical product, that obviously leads to people approaching you and buying physical product at the shows.
Right.
What age group do you see? I mean, obviously you see the older people, but are you seeing more and more younger people that are discovering the music? And if so, do any of them tell you how and why?
Well, they usually says, my grandma. I said, okay, kid, you can go home now. No,
Yeah.
no, they do. They tell you their parents or their older brothers or something like that. It's difficult, man, because like I say, this audience of ours are getting a little older.
Sure.
We do a lot of these cruises, which you got to see to believe, because man, you've never seen grown-ups that want to act like they were 15 years old till you've been out to sea.
Right.
They really have a ball. We do this thing called Flower Power. Oh my God, when that boat leaves the harbor, it's insane. It's really fun, but they have so much fun. And we have Family Stone on there, Guess Who on there, Mitch Ryder on there. We have all the oldies but goodies. Those that can walk are still playing,
Sure.
And I'll tell you, man, you want to get the young people, but they have so much to listen to nowadays.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, how do you keep up? It's impossible,
Sure. Now, and the interesting thing too is that with the younger people, just like we were just saying, they're not going to connect to you the same way that the older people did. They're just, and it doesn't even matter that you're right in front of them. They still don't know the history. They just know it's an old band. They don't know that it's a band that shaped their mom and dad's life, or they just don't understand that, and they don't have. I would say, short of a very small handful of artists today's modern bands like Taylor Swift, there's really nothing like what you guys were doing, or the Stones, or the Who, or the Temptations, or Four Tops. There's just not that spectrum of bands that were big, larger than life, and created great music every single time you heard it.
Well, just on my own behalf, because I still obviously love to listen to music.
Sure.
This is where the Spotify's come in and that really helped me. First of all, I lost my whole record collection in a fire. I had a phenomenal record, so it's right there on my phone.
Right.
Number two, I've been listening to a lot of music from other countries.
Okay.
And for example, if you notice, a lot of the English artists, Ed Sheeran, all these guys, they all pay very close attention to African music, Nigerian music, Kenyan music.
Sure.
There's a guy named Burna Boy. You ever hear Burna Boy?
I don't know him.
I've heard that.
Check it out, bro.
Okay.
Check Burna Boy. Let me tell you something. I saw a concert on Apple Music, which is live. If it's still on, there must have been, Wembley Stadium. What is it, hold 30, 40,000?
Yeah.
They
Wembley holds 90,000.
It was packed. Wow. They knew every single word of this dude's rapping, and I'm telling you, it's good stuff, man.
But
cool. There's so much good stuff around the world that's not kind of like Americanized, basically like you're talking about, because I completely understand. What are you going to do, man? I mean, like I say, I see Ed Sheeran using this stuff, man. I see a lot of artists. They're actually making records with it.
Right.
Yeah, actually, that Burna Boy did the NBA All-Star halftime show. That's where I
Amen. You were watching, my man. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Was that cool?
It was pretty cool, actually. Yeah.
Let me tell you, these guys are good. And if you like rhythm, which, is the foundation of rhythm and blues, oh, my God, you're going to hear rhythm like you never heard. It's really a phenomenon.
Very nice, man.
Right.
Well, go ahead.
Real quick, I got to squeeze this question in because we have a fan of yours, and she wanted me to ask you a question. She's a super huge fan. She's been to shows, but she wants to know, is there any chance of you and the surviving members doing another Rascals tour and maybe coming to Cleveland area?
Well, I think the word is surviving members.
Yeah. I hate to word it like that, but I'm just saying,
he's right.
Is there any chance of a tour?
Yeah. Man, I mean, it's so interesting. We tried and tried and tried and tried, and I keep trying. And the last time, we lost our drummer, Mr. Donnelly. Dino passed, Right. Gene, it has been coming out with me. He's trying his best to get his health together to come out again. And Eddie, unfortunately, he gave up. He doesn't really want to work, man. I mean, he's not out there. He's not out there singing and playing and rocking, which is his decision. But I mean, he decided to retire when he was 28. I mean, that's a little young. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. But anyway, so I don't think we can put us together anymore. We're out there. I'm going to be out there. If you want to get the closest thing, come on out and see me, man. I'm still working.
Where are you going to be? Are you going to be touring? Are you going to be coming to Cleveland anytime soon?
I hope so. You know, like I say, I spent a lot of time in Cleveland over the years, not only in places, but in the Hall of Fame. I used to work regularly for the Hall of Fame, you know, like under different management and stuff like that. I used to do a lot of shows there. And as I say, I went to Syracuse University. A lot of our athletes ended up in Cleveland on the Browns.
Sure.
You know, so I spent a lot of time there. It's a rocking city, man. It
Absolutely.
really is.
Right on, man. Well, Felix, we're going to wrap this one up here in a second by playing a bit of the single for Soul Love. What can you tell us about the single?
Well, I wrote it with these young guys from Canada. They came down from Canada to work with me, and it was so funny because I got a studio in my house. I got a reasonable studio. I got speakers and keyboards and everything.
Right.
They came down with a friggin' laptop. They said, "Well, we don't need any of that. We're going to do it on a laptop." I said, "Oh, okay. All right, whatever you say." So we did that on a laptop. That's all I can say. Yeah.
Well, it sounds great, and
Yeah.
I just want to double back before we wrap up to what you were saying about coming out and seeing the next best thing to the Rascals, seeing you out there performing. I'm not going to make any statement other than to challenge people. Just go out to YouTube and look up Felix, because there's plenty of video of you out there performing. And it's pretty amazing. You sound pretty much the same as you did in 1966 or whatever, man. That's amazing.
Yeah, I'm trying my best, man. But you know, like we came up in the era with James Brown and those guys, and you don't stop till you get them standing up and dancing, man. So
Right.
that's how we work.
Absolutely. Well, Felix, this has been a great talk. The new album is called Then and Now. Where should we tell people to go online to keep up with you and tour dates and buy, not just stream, but buy the merchandise and all that stuff?
Well, I'm doing a thing called Talk Shop Live next. As a matter of fact, tomorrow, Thursday, which we
Okay.
sell it, and FelixCavalieremusic.com is selling it, and hopefully, you know, we'll get it around, man. I've got people helping me out with that, and thank you so much for your time, guys. I really
you.
appreciate it and enjoyed talking to you. Believe me.
Absolutely, man. It's
Thank
great.
you. Much appreciated.
All right,
All
Felix.
right, guys. See you
Take care,
soon. I hope.
Felix. All right.
Thanks.
Take care, Felix.
Yes, sir.
Love's like a kite that we fly. It can soar, it cannot give you vertigo. 'Cause you've got my heart on a string. I can't fight this feeling when you know. Baby, don't let go. You must be so love. Got me singing this way. Got me dying to say I'm in love with you. It must be so love. Got me feeling so proud. Wanna shout it out loud. I'm in love with you.
It's good stuff, man.
Dude, that was so fun.
Yeah, he was awesome. He was a good guy.
He was great. And dude, I so grew up on his music. I have spent the whole last week just listening to the Rascals' greatest hits over and over again.
Yeah.
It's such great music, man. And what a nice guy, man.
I feel bad. I had to toss in the question about the surviving members.
Well, he's old.
But-
I mean, I don't want to.
I don't know if you can see. I'm going to try to put up a picture. That's my sister-in-law at one of their shows. It says the Rascals on the top.
Nice.
And she wanted me to ask that question. I feel like, hey, anybody that's still alive going to be touring with you? But got to ask, you know,
Well,
people
you
want to see
do
the
have
show.
to ask. I mean, come on, dude. Felix is 80. You know,
He sounds great, though.
Yeah, he sounds great. I mean, that clip that we just played, that's new. That's now. You know, and I wasn't kidding. If you go out there and you look up him singing the songs like Lonely Too Long or Groovin' or whatever from recent tours, he sounds excellent. I mean, you know as well as I do, dude. Some of these guys, when they're still carrying on, they should stop.
Axl Rose.
Yeah, exactly. And he's a lot younger than Felix.
Yeah.
And I mean, Felix.
The president of the United States.
Well, you mean that guy's doing something wrong? He's younger than Felix.
It's unbelievable.
Yeah, what a nice guy, though, man.
Yeah, he was great. Very gracious, very nice guy.
I very much appreciate him. And dude, I love hearing, when he kept saying, oh, if you guys really want to hear, I want to only hear those stories.
Yeah, I know.
I don't want to hear about the time that you were number one on the charts, or I don't care. I want to hear that, we had to rehearse and play all week to do a 2-minute spot on the Ed Sullivan Show. That's what I want to hear.
That's the kind of stuff that's cool. Yeah, absolutely.
That was fantastic. Maybe I'm more geeked than anybody about doing that interview, but I really was excited about doing that one. And me, dude, I interview a zillion bands, so
yeah, no,
that was a big one for me.
Here's the deal. There's guys that are musicians, then there's guys that are really musicians.
Mm-hmm.
That guy's a Hall of Famer kind of guy. I mean,
that's just foundational to my whole life. I honestly, man, like, again, I keep naming the same 2 songs, Groovin' and Lonely Too Long. I don't think I've gone 6 months ever without hearing those songs.
Yeah.
In my entire life. Those songs were around before me. So to hear that was like so amazing. To talk to the guy was like absolutely very cool, man. So, hey, no problem. But then, of course, Monday we're going to go the other way.
Yeah. Monday, complete opposite of what you just heard.
Yes.
But a band that I like.
Yes.
Taproot is going to be joining the show.
That's right. The singer, Steven, do you know his name?
No.
Steven something.
But I just showed a video of a poem to my daughter, and she's like, oh my God, 8.5 million views? I was like, yeah. I mean, they were a big band in the 2000s.
Yeah. Oh,
and she's like, oh, he's a cutie. I was like, well, that was 20 years ago. That's what he looks like on Monday. But he was, that band was cool, and I liked him. So
yeah, Taproot.
Good one today, good one on Monday. So I'm excited.
Right.
I want to take a quick break, and then we're going to be joined by Tony Masaccio.
Very good.
Restaurant reporter extraordinaire. Got to find out what car he drove down to the flats.
Yeah.
Since his Corvette is wrecked. And we'll talk to him in just a couple of minutes. Hang on.
All right.
Are you looking for a way to support the Seth Williams Show? Get your Seth Williams Show merchandise today. From coffee mugs to clothing and everything in between, our high-quality merch is the perfect way for you to not only support the show, but show everyone what is the greatest show going today. Just go to shop.thesethwilliamsshow.com now, shop around, and buy some great merchandise from the Seth Williams Show. Shop today.
What separates Triv's restaurant in Strongsville from everybody else? Some restaurants you go to eat the same thing over and over and over. But then there are restaurants like Triv's, where you want to go there every single time and eat something different until you have eaten every single item on the menu. Why? Because the food's delicious, and it has been for almost a quarter of a century. Triv's has amazing food, outstanding service, and an opportunity for you to have private dining, special events, and intimate occasions. You can enjoy a memorable fine dining experience in your own dedicated, intimate space. Visit Triv's in the heart of Strongsville. Call now for reservations, 440-238-8830. Triv's in Strongsville. Joe Burdick custom flags are amazing. Each flag is handcrafted to reflect the imperfect perfection, making each piece of patriotic wall art unique. This is a local small business, veteran-owned and proud. Joe Burdick creates symbolic artwork that is built to last. Display your spirit, pride, and patriotism by calling 440-305-2065 and let Joe's flags serve you. 440-305-2065. Joe Burdick Flags. Let me introduce you to Charlie's Auto Repair. Any car, any truck, any problem, Charlie's does it right. You know how it is. The check your engine light comes on, you put air in the tires, and the light is still on. 216-470-0170. That's Charlie's Auto Repair, 13728 Madison in Lakewood. Charlie can do it all, from small engine repair to fleet maintenance and system diagnostics. 216-470-0170. Charlie's Auto Repair. Let Charlie make your car great once again.
Here, the Seth Williams Show with Chris Hagan. I got to go to Charlie's Auto Repair tomorrow, actually. He's installing a knob on my steering wheel.
Nice.
And by knob, I mean like a thing that I hold on to.
I'll bet.
I don't want to say it like that either. All right? That sounds awful too. It's a round.
You're making it hard for me not to stay clean today, Seth.
That's what she said. It's a round device that's going to go on my steering wheel so I can grip it easier.
Okay.
To drive. So I will be visiting Charlie's Auto Repair in Lakewood tomorrow after 3:00.
All right.
Real quick story before we get to Tony.
Yeah.
I'm trying to get this girl to come on the show. She works at WHK. Very nice girl, Jessica Kramer.
Okay.
And she's got a great story because she's a younger girl who's actually, I think her show is called The Based Catholic. And so she's a younger girl with different views than most of her generation have. And she has her own podcast. And I want to, tell people about her podcast and let her give a chance to explain everything because it's really cool. It's kind of a cool concept and I like it. But the other day she was at the station and she says, cute girl, nice girl. And she goes, oh, Seth, I wanted to know your opinion on my show because, you've been in radio for a long time. My dad was such a big fan. And right then you go, all right, dude, seriously, am I really that old now that there are people that are in their 20s that are saying, my dad was a big fan of yours?
Right.
I feel like a dick. But I guess that's what I guess the gray in the beard says it all, man. I'm getting old.
Dude, you don't have to tell me. Look at me. I'm white. I've lost the gray. I've gone full
but you
Santa.
look distinguished. Now I look like I'm just aging.
Dude, the weirdest part for me is I don't dye my hair, but my hair does not turn gray. It is not gray.
That is weird.
It is kind of odd because the beard looks like I'm scared.
I think I'm getting some gray in the hair. And I said it to somebody the other day, and I was like, losing a leg creates a little bit of stress, man.
What?
So there's a little bit of anxiety when it comes to, having a good, strap a leg on every time you got to go to the bathroom or whatever. Right. Maybe that's causing the gray, and I'm reminded, no, I'm just getting old.
Yeah, I was going to say, it might be closer to inching up on 50.
Yeah. Over under on how many times the feed will cut out during this segment.
I said 46.
Twice. Chris says 46. Scott says 3.5.
It's a new game.
Tony will be cutting out no less than 4 times. Yeah, everybody is guessing at this point.
Well, why don't we do this? Everybody that's playing this game, get yourself a bottle of whatever you're drinking.
And every time he cuts out, shot.
Yeah, every time he cuts out, have a shot. Because he's going to be having some drinks while he's there.
I am trying a new thing with my internet, so we're going to see how this pans out. So far, so good. I have not seen the...
We have 9 minutes.
Yet.
We have 9 minutes until it usually dies.
Yeah, but they split my internet here.
Yes.
So now all of my devices, except for the laptop, are on one internet feed.
Right.
Network. And then my laptop with the show is on another network that is supposedly 5G. So we're going to see if it lasts throughout the show. I may end the show early just so I can say I made it through an entire show without the... In fact, I'm out. No.
Bye.
But we'll see how this goes.
All right.
All right. Tony Masaggio is live once again. Tell everybody where we're at, Tony.
I am at the Collision Bend in the Flats. This was the old watermark in the 70s and 80s. Okay. This is an iconic restaurant. As you can see behind me, it's Lady Caroline, which is the new boat that is owned by Nautica, which is Jacobs Investment owns the entire west side of the bay.
We lost your mic.
You got me now?
There
Now
you
we
are.
got you.
Okay, so
That's one.
Seth, there's one. This is over and under. Now we're going to lose Tony on the internet. I got to stay close to the phone here. Seth, you can remember this in the flats. You actually worked for Hooters in
Yes.
80s?
No, 90s.
90s. All right. So from the late 79s to the late 90s, on a Friday and Saturday evening, this place had 100,000 people walking down Old River Road, and there was zero security.
Yeah.
None,
It was crazy.
none whatsoever. And unfortunately, that was the demise of it, because once something started happening down here, it was closed up for many, many years. It was literally piles of dirt until it got, until the restaurants happened here, until the housing happened. So again, that's the start of this. I
Now-
want to introduce my friend Michael Grano, who is the GM of Collision Bend. Michael, say hello.
Hi guys, how you doing?
Good, Michael.
He's
Good, how are
one of
you?
one of the best restaurant, actually not proprietor, but the guy who runs these places. You were at Alley Cat.
I was at Alley Cat with I've had a long career in the restaurant business. I've been doing this for 25 plus years. And Collision Bend is probably the most fun restaurant that brewery that I've had the privilege to kind of be the GM of. So it's pretty fun.
So it's not only a restaurant, they also have a brewery. The cans are made right here. They're also opening up a brewery in Euclid, which, as we speak, they're pouring the cement to this place.
Wow.
And it is going to be an unbelievable brewery. You see all these breweries happening in Cleveland. What's really neat about this is now you can find this product in different stores, retail stores throughout Northeast Ohio.
Yeah, so we're in a lot of stores right now. All the major guys have us. So Heinen's, Giant Eagles, and Myers. Heinen's being one of our greatest partners from the beginning. And then if you just go to your local package store, we're there also. On the corner of my street where I live out in the east suburbs, the Sunoco station carries our beer over there, because there's a lot of, neat little places that are into craft beer and they support us, which we're really lucky.
And what is the brand name on the beer again?
So Collision Bend Brewery. The ones that you'll see in the stores right now is our Seatown IPA, which is what we call a Midwest IPA. It's really lovely. It's balanced, just enough hops, just enough bitterness. We have our Hope Flows Kolsch, which is out there, and our flagship beer, which is probably the most popular, which is our Lake Erie Sunset, which is a blood orange wheat. And boy, we call that one our patio pounder. You can throw a 6-pack of those back real quick.
Nice.
And as you can see, I have a flight in front of me. I've got a seltzer. Michael, this is a porter. I know that. Correct?
So Luke makes some of the best porters.
Yeah,
Cleveland makes some of the best porters in the United States of America, and Luke is making one of the finest ones in the country too.
Your number 10. Do you know what this is?
I'd have to take a look real quick. Give me 1 second, and I'll let you know.
So with that, guys, you can get a flight here, or you can obviously get individual glasses of beer. You can also bring a large bottle to go once you leave here, which is nice. So able to go beer.
So number 10 is our Big Cat IPA, and that's my favorite IPA that we make. It's a double IPA, so it's a little. That one's, that one will sneak up on you. I think it's like 8.7% alcohol on that one, but it doesn't drink that way. It's really super smooth. A lot of citrusy hops in the front. It's that one goes down really nice also.
So guys, you know the song, one bourbon, one scotch, and you can finish the other part of it.
And 20 beers.
Listen, one wine, one beer, or one pregnancy. So again, you can see the array of different alcohols they have here.
Cody, fix your sound.
I have a Pinot Noir.
There you go.
We good?
Yep.
I have a Pinot Noir. I have a Woodford bourbon, which absolutely I love. And of course, the beer that's in front of me. Yeah, Michael, why don't you just talk about what's on the table here?
So on the table right now, we have right in front of us is our new pizza. We just added that to the menu. It's a Mexican street corn pizza. It looks like we have our classic burger right over there. We have our world famous Brussels sprouts over there. They were just asking for the recipe, and I told them it's such a pain in the ass to make.
Yeah, there's one.
down here and get fonduta, which is got a little bit of chorizo in there, a whole bunch of cheese, some chips. That perfect snack for when you just want to, have something when you're drinking a beer.
Very. So, guys, what I'm going to do is we're going to take a little tour through the place. And Michael, thank you. As always, I appreciate
Thanks for coming down today, Tony.
Absolutely. You have any other questions, real quick, for Michael? They got parties here. They have a party room. They do weddings out here.
Oh, we do corporate events. We have bands on every Friday. We have some of the best live local music in the city every Friday. The best bands in town. And we love to party. And that's pretty much it. We like to drink beer. And we like to throw parties. I mean, so my job's not too bad, guys.
And they have Ernst & Young, which is right up the hill, guys. So a lot of times you'll come here and the place is packed with stuffed suits with the ties on, and it's Ernst & Young, and they're enjoying it after hours.
Right
at
on.
5 o'clock.
Michael, are you a lunch and dinner place or just dinner?
Lunch and dinner. 7 days a week, lunch and dinner. So we get our business guys in, and then that's where I kick in and I tell them, it's like 2 o'clock. You don't have to go back to the office. You can have a third beer. And then we get a lot of travelers in from out of town because obviously you see the view behind us is just spectacular. So we get, anybody that comes to Cleveland, we get a lot of recommendations from, all the hotels and everywhere, like the spot.
Yep, Tony got a call. And what happened? Oh, there you go.
Guys, you got me. Sorry.
All good.
There's also, if I can just show you this bird right here, okay? He is like the mascot, Frank?
Fred.
This is Fred. Frank, he's coming after your food on the patio.
Fred's been with us for about 5 years now. Everybody always asks me, like, is that really Fred? Is that not this different bird? It's Fred. He's been here for 5 years. He patiently waits until people are finished with their food. Then he jumps on the table. His favorite things are French fries and pizza. And it's hysterical. And he just sits there. I have to walk up to guests all the time and go, hey, that's just Fred. He's going to stare at you for the next 45 minutes until you're finished. So just get used to it.
So we're going to take a tour here.
Yeah, I was going to say it looks like dinner, but
maybe one day.
And I got to tell you,
Push your headphone in.
I've been doing my show here for 8 years, and this Fred has gotten bigger and bigger every year. So he's done a great job eating off of tables.
Great.
I've been there, and I love that place. I mean, it's a beautiful
Pleasure.
place with a beautiful view, so it's a great place.
Yeah.
Awesome. Thanks, guys, for the compliment.
All right, I'm gonna walk through the restaurant real quick, guys. I'm going to take Michael's pot out of his ear, and we are going to give you a tour of this place, which is really cool. So as it said, in the 80s, which was really nice, when this was the watermark, it was fine dining in the flats. Okay. So you were able to get the best steak, the best salmon. They had a T-bone, which was literally off the plate. And I bet then it was probably only about $10 for a steak. Like when I was talking about in the woods where they had that ribeye, which was $9 in the 80s.
Right on.
So I'm going to actually have Audrey pan right here. It's a beautiful patio outside. Obviously, welcome to Cleveland weather. Sun is not up, but it's still gorgeous out here.
Looks great.
Is it cool?
It is beautiful down there. I'll tell you that, man. It is beautiful down there.
So what's cool about this restaurant is they have different partitions, and you can have a party right here throughout the entire inside patio. And as I showed you the outside, they will absolutely rent out the entire restaurant on a Saturday or Sunday afternoon for a wedding or any large event. So it's cool.
That's great.
And here's something really cool, guys. They started a pinball tournament here. As you can see in the front window, they have little quarter pinballs like when we were kids.
Very good.
All right. Let me show you the beer and how it's made.
Okay.
Here's the different taps right here. And I'm going to show you actually what Michael just talked about. You can actually see all the list of different beers that you can get by the glass.
And those are all IPAs, Tony?
A lot of them are IPAs, yep,
okay.
Which is really cool. So There's the magic right here, Chris.
There you go. Yeah.
Here's just part of it. And these guys are here at 7 o'clock in the morning every day, brewing alcohol. And then they have the cans, which I'm going to show you the kegs that are sold. And you can actually have cans, which you can buy a 6-pack, a 12-pack, right from their cooler and have everything to go that you drank in a restaurant.
Nice.
So let me just show you something real quick, guys, and then I'm going to...
What's an IPA?
It's like a craft beer.
Yeah, I've only had Bud Ice, so I don't know what an IPA is.
And Tony's going way too far into the catacombs. Is that 3?
That's 3.
Person and alcohol. Me? Guys, you got me?
We got you.
You got me?
Kinda.
Okay. Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Yep.
I went way too far. I went way too far into the brewery.
Yes, you did.
Okay, Seth?
Yeah.
Can you hear me? Okay, you asked what an IPA is? Ignorant person and alcohol. So guys, again, I am here live in the flats at Collision Bend. You got to check this place out. It is great for parties, great for small plates, large plates, wonderful beer. So come down on the flats like you always did years ago. And I got to tell you, there's so many restaurants now, which we've always talked about. Alley Cat is one of their sister restaurants, which is right on the lake. And again, you remember this, Seth? So there was the Foos here. There were Fagans. They knocked all those They have knocked all those restaurants down, and now you have these really great fine dining restaurants.
Fantastic.
So, all right, let me leave you with this. So according to Birds of a Feather Who Flock Together, the Canadian geese has been known to mate with the black-tailed duck. Once you go quack, you never go back. Love you guys. I will talk to you next week, and in the following week, I am going to be in Hawaii, so we're going to be doing a live show in Honolulu.
Wow.
Nice. Very good.
Back to you guys in the studio. Have a great evening.
You
All right,
too,
Tony.
Tony. Thank you.
There goes Tony.
Oh, that was good.
That was good.
Only broke up, 3 times? Who's
Yeah.
the winner? Winner.
Yeah, who did win that? Wasn't me. I said 46.
You said 46. Scott said 3.5.
Scott might have won because he got it without going over.
Yeah.
Oh, no, he did go over.
He did go over, but no,
He
he
went
said 3 to begin with, then went to 3.5.
Yeah, but he changed his bet. Sorry, you lose.
Joe said 4, so nope.
I don't think we have a winner. Well, I guess the winner might be what is it, Scott with 1.5? I don't see any 2s.
Did Gunner say 2?
Gunner said 3, I thought.
Hey, Gunner said twice.
Twice. All right, Gunner.
Gunner, hey, nice job.
You know what? This is what we need to do.
Get a
we
prize.
We need to start getting the gift certificates from these restaurants.
Yes, we do.
And we'll play this game every week, and whoever comes the closest on Tony's cutouts gets the gift certificate to that restaurant.
Yeah, I'm certainly not making fun of the restaurant or even
No.
Tony. It's just a matter of that's the way the internet works, and
Yeah.
But I have been to Collision Bend. My wife and I went down there once, and we had like wings or something down there, and they were extremely good.
Right.
My daughter had a burger, I had a burger, and it's just really good food.
And where exactly is that? Is that like where the old Shooters was, or?
No, it's across from like the Odeon.
Oh, okay.
Where the Watermark was.
Yeah, okay.
So yeah, it's directly across from the Odeon.
All right. Very good, man. Yeah, I haven't been down there in ages.
Then they have on the corner there next to where the Odeon is, and I think there's a BW3 that used to be there. Might still be there, I'm not sure. But they have a frozen margarita joint.
Okay.
Which has got like that bumping loud music and stuff. But what's badass about it, because I've gone there just to go in and see somebody real quick. But I went in there a couple of times, and they have like swings at the bar, like hanging from the ceiling.
Okay.
And like there's swings that you sit on at the bar. But it was pretty cool. It was an interesting joint, to say the least.
Very cool.
And I will say this, though. Look, I like the stuff that's in the flats now, but nothing could beat what it was back in the day. And I don't care. Fine dining is good, and fine dining is good for some people, but I liked it when it was corner bar after corner bar, dive after dive, Hooters and Fagans, and all those different joints that were down there. It was just cool and fun.
Nothing was better than going to a show at the Odeon.
Yeah.
And after that, walking down the street, picking a place to go and have 2 or 3 drinks. Didn't they have like the Crazy Horse or the Platinum Horse or something down there?
The Circus.
The Circus. Go hit that place. And it had the 2 sides, the juice bar side and the naked side.
Yeah.
You know, so you go in there, you have a little fun. You have a little fun in there, and then just being hammered, walking those streets, grabbing a gyro on the street.
Yeah. Yep.
That was me, like,
what else
throughout the 90s.
They had paninis down there. They had this bar called Kindler's that was over there. Like, it was like kind of right up the hill, like in the middle area. And what was cool about that place, it was kind of like the hangout for the people that work down there.
Mm-hmm.
And so it got a little bit rowdy at times, but it was kind of like the place where, like, if you messed with the people that worked in the flats, they let you know that you weren't going to mess with the people that worked in the flats.
Right. Oh, yeah.
And you know, it was kind of a weird situation that a lot of drugs were down there, and that's ended up killing the flats, is that the drugs were running just rampant down there.
Drugs and the fights.
And the fights were bad, and then late at night you'd get some of the homeless people out there that would follow you to your cars and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Like, there was one night where I walked out with this girl that I worked with at Hooters, and it had to be 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock in the morning, probably, because things had shut down and there wasn't a whole lot of people left. And so we were walking across the parking lot, and all of a sudden this homeless guy started following us.
Right.
And the girl that I was with was pretty lit and started yelling at him. And he had like a toolbox with him. Next thing you know, he's chasing us.
Oh, Jesus.
And my fat ass is trying to run to my car. And I get to my car, I open up the door, but the windows were all smashed in, glass all over the seats. There were needles sticking out of the seats, beer cans all over. I mean, some junkie and his friends had a party in my car after smashing the windows. Now, I'm not going to lie, I was a little bit lit myself.
Sure.
But so at this point, we go back into Hooters, and I'm trying to figure out what the hell to do. 4 o'clock in the morning, my dumb ass is all messed up. Hope my dad's not still listening. And this girl who's got her Hooters uniform on, and we drive to the police station downtown. And I'm like trying to report this break-in.
And you're hammered.
I'm not only hammered, believe me, there's a lot more than hammered going on. And I'm like, hey, how you doing? I want to report a break-in.
You're like, here, breathe into this, sir.
Yeah, it was like, all right, I got to go. I turned around and left. But
That's
it was
funny.
crazy times down there.
Yeah, it was. I mean, I remember I used to spend a lot of time down there because between, being at old Peabody's a lot and, there used to be concerts all the time down there, whether it was at Odeon, Peabody, Shooters had concerts. Remember Shooters for a while there in the 90s was bringing all the 80s bands that were kind of over back. So you would go over to Shooters and you'd see Night Ranger or whatever, which I was like, okay, cool. Hey, look, it's Loverboy coming to town. I'm in for like $10 or whatever. And I used to go to those shows all the time and just get blitzed. Like, I would hook up with my friends, and then my friends would automatically, here, dude, have a shot, have another. Yeah, I'm not going to lie and say I did not throw a punch or two down there in the flats myself at one point, or 2 or 3.
Before I started working at Hooters, I was actually a bouncer at the basement for a little while. And, it was cool because, you got to meet a lot of girls that went to the basement. But again, that downtown or down in the flat scene back in the, I'd say mid to late 90s was just run by drugs. And
Yeah. Well, you know what the crazy part is, dude, and correct me if I'm wrong, but my memory seems to think that as crazy as it was down there, the other side was worse. Like the other side, we never wanted to go to the other side because we were definitely like, yeah, you don't want to be over there.
The East Bank with shooters?
Yeah,
and stuff? I don't know.
no, the other side, the side with Nautica.
Oh yeah, that was the West Bank. The West Bank had shooters though. The West Bank had shooters.
Yeah, okay, and the powerhouse and all that.
Powerhouse and all that.
Yeah,
and it was depending on the night or how tame that was. But the East Bank was the side where it was just one freaking bar after another.
Yeah, it was just a big party down there.
I mean, there was this one girl that I was hanging out with, and her boyfriend is in jail. So one night, I mean, he was in jail for like felonious assault. So this guy was a badass. We're talking about tattoos on his neck, and he's gonna like strangle the next person he meets, kind of guy. And I decided, all right, this is gonna be a good idea if I hang out with his girlfriend while he's in prison. And because what's he gonna do to me there? He's in prison,
right?
He's in like Mansfield for damn near killing somebody. And I'm like, now I'm gonna hang out with his girlfriend. So we get completely ripped, and we're walking around in the flats. And I go into a bar to grab something. I was meeting a guy in there for something real quick, and I was coming back out, and she's sitting on the on the ground outside of Panini's.
Right.
And she's got a homeless guy's finger in her mouth, dude. And I started gagging, and I was supposed to give her a ride home. I was like, all right, I was like, have a good night. And let this poor girl just ripped sitting on the ground outside of a bar. I couldn't handle it. I was like, all right, you got to go. And then there was one night. It was NBA All-Star Weekend.
Right.
Again, I don't like telling these stories because family that listens, but I had done some, I don't know how to say this name.
Drugs?
Yeah, well, pizza topping, like
all right,
mushrooms and stuff.
Yeah, so you were tripping.
And so, and I was working. And I dumped like a thing of hot water all over my hand. And I didn't feel it. And I was like looking at it, it was blistering up. And the boss is like, dude, you got to go. And I'm leaning up against the counter talking to him. I felt like the whole counter was moving. He's like, you got to leave. I was like, NBA All-Star Weekend, they shut the flats down.
Right.
Because there's so many people. And there's my dumb ass trying to walk to a car, of all things, amongst all these people and feeling like that. I thought that was it. I thought I was going to die. And I made it to my car. I had 2 flat tires.
Oh, man.
Again, man, I didn't have much luck when I worked in the flats because if you worked in the flats, people sometimes didn't like you.
Yeah, that's true.
And so I had 2 flat tires, and I drove like an ass with another girl that I found that was walking the streets. And we drove to this parking lot that had like an air thing. And I don't remember getting home the rest of the night. I don't remember what the hell happened after that. I woke up in her apartment, and she had apparently driven home, and I had no idea what the hell happened. I would like to think that I got lucky, but I doubt it because I have no recollection about anything.
You did get lucky that you got home alive.
Yes, I get it. And I still had my wallet.
Yeah. Dude, the worst I think I ever remember was I went down, and I can still tell you what the show was. I went to see Motley Crue with Typo and King's X down at Nautica. And I got just annihilated drunk. I barely remember Motley Crue playing. Like, and apparently I was there for the whole show.
Right.
I woke up in my ditch at my house that I was living at in Warrensville Heights. Like the next morning. Car was in the ditch. Music was blaring. I don't know why the police didn't come and arrest me, but I apparently drove home and passed out in my car, in my ditch, put my car in my ditch with the music full blast, windows down. The cops never came. Don't know how that didn't happen, but just insanity. But total blackout night. And I had a few of those.
I had some good times in the flats.
Me too.
Then I had some really bad times in the flats.
Yeah, that happened.
A lot of stuff that I regret about the flats. But,
yeah, I missed that time though, man. It was just Cleveland was very alive at that point.
Oh, yeah.
And maybe it's just because we were part of the scene too that it seemed more alive. Because you and I were both on the radio, and we were literally a part of this.
Back then, I was just
you were still at MMS though, were you?
Then. I mean,
you weren't working at MMS.
I don't know. I gave. So my story. I worked at Hooters for like a year, 90,
Okay.
maybe 97 to 98,
Right.
and then I sobered up from that era of partying, and went to like Bible study 3 times a week, and I went to church like twice a week, and dated a girl that was completely, religious, and we were
Right.
doing our holy roller thing, and gave everything up, didn't touch anything. And then I was like, dude, and I even got engaged to that girl. And then I started working at MMS then when I was engaged to that girl.
Sure.
And then I
Fell back.
realized that there was a happy medium between what I was doing originally and then the going to church and Bible study 3, 4, 5, 6 times a week, and ended up not being with her, getting with another girl, and marrying that one, number one, and working at MMS. But I was done with that flat scene. I was at MMS.
Dude, that flat scene, that whole downtown scene in that era. I mean, that's right when Matt and I were doing the metal show on MMS, and when it was in Tower City.
Yep.
Dude, I used to show up. Me and my friend Pat, we used to call him Angry Pat because he was this big monster. He's like 6'5", 280 monster, and we would go down to the show. The metal show was from 10 to midnight. Me and Pat would show up at the Hard Rock that was right there in the building at like 7 o'clock and just drink for 3 hours before I had to go on the air. Like I would just, and for some reason, thank God, I do not swear. I don't slur when I'm drunk.
Yeah.
So I would just be hammered, and then I would go up to the show, and Matt would just take a look at me and be like, "Oh, Jesus Christ," because he just knew some of those shows were going to be, he was going to be laying on the dump button because I was going to be swearing.
See, that's a guy I'd like to get on the show.
Matt?
Yeah.
We could get Matt on the show.
That guy's got tons of stories about musicians and back then. The radio,
problem is will he
all that
tell
kind of
him?
stuff.
He may not tell him.
Yeah, he's a little reserved.
Well, because some of the things that we did on the metal show, he's very specifically asked me not to associate him with. Oh yeah, I'll tell it because I don't listen. But no, we did a contest once called "Get Gayer for Slayer."
I remember you telling me about this.
And what we did was we made people hit on. I hated our interns. I was the biggest ball buster ever. You honestly were the only intern I did not bust balls on, and that's only truth be told, only happened because I was so new that I myself felt like an intern.
Yeah.
So I didn't want to bust. You had actually been there longer than me, so I didn't feel like I could bust your balls. So. We had this intern, Jeremy, still a good friend. Jeremy comes to the show, and I was constantly, we'll take caller number 931, and I would make him take 931 calls. I wouldn't let him just fake it. I was that kind of a ball buster just to get him out of the room. So at some point, we were told that Jeremy had to stay in the room because he complained that he wasn't getting his internship or whatever. That I just pushed him out the room. So I come up with, we got this great offer for a promotion. This was at 92, not MMS, by the way. Yeah. But the promotion was, they were giving us tickets and meet and greet to Slayer, plus an autographed signed Dimebag guitar.
Oh, wow.
Plus an advance listen to the Lamb of God album that was getting ready to come out with the band. So it was like a great promotion. It was. So I didn't want to just do, okay, be the 10th caller. Right. I wanted them to earn it. So I came up with Get Gayer for Slayer. And what we did was we made people submit tapes of them hitting on Jeremy to try and become Jeremy's date to the Slayer show. So once we narrowed it down to 3 from the tapes, then we made them come in the studio to hit on Jeremy, and then we let Jeremy pick who was going to be his guest.
Nice.
And I mean, the 3 dudes that came up, one came up in a dress, one came up with makeup on like a bad prison bitch. It was really, really brutal. But it may have been brutal, but what a prize.
Yeah.
It was a total great prize that they won. I mean, he won literally about $4,000 or $5,000 worth of prize. You know, what's a dime bag guitar sell for?
Yeah. Well, now especially.
Yeah. Well, that was after he passed. That was after he passed. So
it
wasn't like you could go get one. You know, they were hard to come by.
What the hell year was that? Because I was
2005, maybe 2006.
I was on the air the night that he died. The night that he died, they called me and said, "Go in and do the show."
Oof.
And I had to go in and talk about Pantera and play the music. Thank God. But I was actually, it was funny because, you know, we're talking about, we should do a whole show on just MMS stories because I got so many.
Me too.
But I was just talking to Heather the other night, my wife, about, you know, how did I go from literally having people eat lunch meat off of my sweaty body on an exercise bike outside a progressive field to, you know, talking politics and following, you know, the things that I follow now and trying to be educated, watching Fox News every day. It's amazing how you change, I guess, or at least I did. I had to adjust because of my radio situation, no doubt.
Well, and part of it is you just age out of some of that stuff, dude. You age out of some of that stuff, and
I'd still do that today.
I wouldn't. I mean, some of the crazy stuff that I did that was fun. Like, you know, throwing lunch meat at naked chicks with Fred Durst. That's probably my all-timer. Is, awesome. You know, on the bus, and Fred had a bunch of naked groupies, and we were throwing lunch meat at them for the chance to hook up with them. I mean, that's literally what we were doing, is whoever got the closest to certain areas got to hook up, you know, and we're throwing lunch meat at these chicks. And I mean, that was cool when I was 20, whatever. But today I would just be like, today I wouldn't even bother. Today I'd be like, you go ahead.
Yeah,
I just would.
The scene is different though than it was back then.
It
back
is.
then, you know, the scene was one.
Yeah.
If you were in radio, you were something. It was the rock stars kind of dug what you did for the most part.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Now they look at you like you're just some radio jackass, and you are.
Mm-hmm.
But you know, back then you had a little bit of credibility, I guess, if you want to call it that, when it came to the eyes of a rock star. And it was fun. It was fun going on those tour buses, man.
It was. Oh yeah. You saw some craziness on the buses. Holy
Absolutely,
cow.
you did.
That's a show we ought to do some night. Just our experiences on the tour buses, because
yeah,
there was some stuff happening on the tour buses.
There was some definite stuff happening on the tour buses. But I just had a good time hanging out with some of the bands on the buses, just talking shit.
Sure, just talking.
Zach Wilde playing guitar for me and him, sitting on a freaking bus together, which is kind of creepy now when you think about it. But he just picked up a guitar and started. We're talking about a guitar
god,
and he's picking up a guitar, playing for me while I'm sitting on a bus, just shooting a shoe with him. I mean, that's cool stuff back then.
Yeah.
And you know, I don't know. And then the MMS audience is so different from like a TAM or an AM audience. Like,
oh yeah,
an AM audience, you hear somebody whisper as you walk by. I think that's Seth from the radio.
Yeah.
And then MMS guys, an audience. I was at Denny's with my wife at the time, and we're having dinner, and this couple just comes in and sits down next to us and while we're eating. Like, I have food in my mouth. They're like, "Seth, we want to sit down." And they just pulled up chairs and sat with us at the table and ordered food. I was in a car accident. I was on the air like 10 minutes before, and I was talking about doing this bit that we were doing. And I hung up and I pulled out of this parking lot and I drilled the car. Just sideswiped this guy. The guy was on his way to the hospital, taking his friend, who I drilled, by the way. He was having all kind of pains and this and that. And I hit him with the front of my car. And as soon as I get out of the car, 5 cars just stopped, like, "Seth!" And there were literally people coming over asking for autographs after I just drilled this poor dude, and there's an ambulance coming to take him away.
Wow.
But there's such a difference between the audiences. Oh, yeah. It was unbelievable.
Yeah, it was. It was fun
back then. It was so cool being a part of that generation.
It was.
Because rock music in the 2000s and late 90s wasn't bad.
No, dude, it was fun. I could tell you so many stories about being at corn shows and crazy stuff happening Korn and Deftones and Ozzy and Zakk Wylde and, just show after show after show.
Jonathan Davis, dude, one day from Korn.
Yeah.
I had made a thing with my ex-wife. I said, I shouldn't have said that. I'm not going to repeat the story now. But anyways, I told him what happened, and he came up to me and he gave me this big, huge hug after I told him what happened. And he's Jonathan Davis, dude.
Yeah.
And I'm a huge Korn fan, so I was like
Sure.
super pumped. And he's like, bro, I've never heard a story like that. Like, you're sitting front row. And he just literally walked us to the front of the stage. There weren't even seats there. He just said, stand right here.
That's
And
awesome.
it was like, but rock was cool back then.
Yeah, it was. It was a lot of fun, man.
And radio was cool back then. And I
Mhm.
love what I do now. And I don't want to do another, job other than this podcast and radio stuff. I love it
Yeah.
because it's just a fun job and it's interesting. And, and I like the different path that I've taken as far as politics, but I do miss those days of
Yeah.
just
but I hate to-
debauchery and
But
rock.
those days are done. I mean, who's doing? I mean, even there's no Howard Stern anymore. There's no Opie and Anthony anymore. I mean, that era is over.
I understand that, but
was
forget about
fun.
those guys. Forget about. I mean, you still got Rover and stuff like that, but forget about the talk radio debauchery stuff. I'm talking about just the fun,
Just being in it. Yeah.
spitting the records and cutting up tape and playing carts and
Right.
just there was an art to doing radio back then that there isn't now.
No.
And
it's
then
just
on top of that,
pre-recorded.
they wanted you to go to concerts. They wanted you to be a part
Mm-hmm.
of the scene because they wanted
yeah.
you to talk about it on the air.
Mhm.
Now a concert rarely comes to town, and if it does, they don't care if you go.
Yeah.
You could just read a review about
The
it.
only way you'll hear about it on the radio is if they're spending money to buy spots. It's the only way. It's not like Rover or whoever, and I haven't listened to Rover forever, so I could be wrong, but it's not like Rover's going on. You guys ain't gonna believe where I was at last night. I was out at the Korn show out at Blossom, and you're not gonna believe what happened. That story's not being told.
Now we're at the iHeartRadio Music Festival that's paid for by $1 billion to put all these stupid artists out there. And what does iHeart do? Fire half their staff because they can't afford anybody.
Yeah.
Well, quit putting on concerts and giving people giving tickets away, and maybe you can afford to keep people that actually care about working for you.
Yeah, stop spending $30,000 to bring Sammy Hagar in to play 4 songs at the Rock Hall.
Right.
Stop it.
Quit paying Taylor Swift $1 billion to do another freaking show.
Yeah, exactly.
Whatever. One day we'll have to spend the entire show talking about the stories of yore
man.
when it comes to rock radio. But I had a good time today.
Yeah, it's great.
Felix Cavaliere.
Cavaliere or something.
Cavaliere. I think that's how he said it. Cavaliere.
Yeah.
For coming on from the Rascals. Much appreciated. And that new stuff sounded pretty good. Thanks to Tony
Absolutely.
Masaccio for coming on. Appreciate that. Thanks to John Drake for doing the segment for the Browns.
Yes.
And Monday, Taproot is going to be on. Taproot,
That is
another
correct, sir.
2000s band, one that I've seen many times back in the day. So looking forward to talking to them. And we'll see what else we can have in store for you next week as well.
Very good.
Thanks, Chris. Good job. Thank you. And we'll talk to you Monday, God willing.
See ya.
Yeah.